Welcome back to Game Galaxy, and today I have a very special guest joining me, my childhood friend Keith. I've mentioned him many times on the show before, and most of the time when I'm telling you guys stories that happened back in the day, 9 times out of 10, he is that friend. So Keith, awesome to have you here, and today, obviously, we're here to talk about the re-release of Shenmue 1 and 2 HD, and how we feel about it, and then just have a general discussion of Shenmue anyway, and kind of memories and our first time seeing it and all that. So, first of all, I can't believe this happened. Can you believe it?
No, I never thought the day would come. I mean, Shenmue 3 and then this.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, of course, you know, we had our history with the original on the Dreamcast, and then our hearts broke when they canceled it for us here in Shenmue 2 in North America. And then we got, you know, we had to, both of us imported this one from the UK here, and thankfully we were able to play it. It was in Japanese with English subtitles, but there was something cool about that where we've talked about all the time that in Shenmue, this feels like home. Like everyone knows your name, it was in English, and in Shenmue 2, you go to China, and it really felt foreign, and everyone was speaking Japanese. I know they don't speak Japanese in China, but the fact that it was that extra language made it feel all that more foreign. So that was a cool experience. So I would love you to tell your story of the first time you came over and saw it at my house and what that led you to do.
See, this is not actually good because I didn't remember this, and I had.
Oh, you don't?
I only read off your thing.
Well,
I didn't. I mean, I remember going over to your house and like playing it and seeing the graphics and like specifically that first part where he's walking through, you know, you're like, it's kind of panning behind the trees and he's walking to the dojo to, you know, find Fukusan getting tossed out on his ass. But yeah, that like, it was just the graphics were, you know, something that we hadn't seen before, and then the level of immersion in the game was also something that...
Yeah, I feel like, my memory, and I could be making this up, that originally you had come over, and Nathan, my brother, used to have the Dreamcast magazine, and they would send out these demo discs, and there was a specific Shenmue promo video that was on the Dreamcast magazine, and it was this awesome video that was like, what is this game? And I feel like that was the first time that we saw it. And then it was later that you did come over and you played all the way until the Heartbeats bar with the milk's perfect for a school boy. And I remember you were just so blown away that you actually went and sold your entire N64 and all of your games to get a Dreamcast. And as a born and raised Sega fan, that made me happy deep down inside. But that's incredible, man. I you know, to be moved like that.
Yeah, although to be fair, I've never been quite as sentimental as you in terms of saving old systems once you've played through them. You know,
that's true.
Jamie will save everything.
That's true. That's why I didn't compute with my mind. It shocked me back then. I was like, wow, he turned in like everything, Ocarina of Time.
It just seemed
Perfect
to me
Dark
like
and all that.
Seemed to me like the new big thing, new system, which unfortunately,
I mean, we got
for a little bit it was.
Yeah, we got our plays out of that for sure, man. That was a good time for us. But one thing I want to say for new players out there that are coming into this for the first time is that this is an adventure through and through. And what I mean by that is there are no waypoints to guide you places. It's a very investigative type experience. So you'll go out and someone will say, hey, you need to find the Liu Barber hair salon. And you have to literally go find it and walk down the street, look for signs, talk to people. And there was something refreshing about that. But also it was a little bit of a shock to my system, even though I played this game 4 or 5 times. Just I've been inundated with Call of Duty and Uncharted with just constant stimulus, so it was kind of like, whoa.
Press X to pay your respects.
Exactly.
All that nonsense.
Exactly. It was just like to slow it down and bring it back. Like, whoa, I really have to take my time. I was just experiencing as I was just playing. It was like you get your tasks done for the day, and it's like return here tomorrow, but you have the whole day left.
You don't have, and Shenmue 1, you can't wait.
You're right. Exactly.
2, you can.
So it's you just sit there, and that's what I was trying to remember. I was like, couldn't you wait?
No.
But I guess it was Shenmue
Nope.
2.
That was 2.
So then it's like, what do? So I spend my time buying capsule toys or playing in the arcade, or what I think is really cool is practicing the moves, which is a great. The more you practice, the better you will do at those moves. For example, the reverse roundhouse. The first time Rio does it, he'll always finish facing away his opponent. So I sit there and train that so you can start kicking
That's
them out.
always the first one I do too. Just like a freak, just in the thing over and over again. And he's like, maybe I should stop. And you're like, no,
continue.
I'm sorry.
And you know, I could have, unless I made this up, I thought like after your sessions you would see the progression, but it doesn't seem to until you sleep and then wake up, and then I saw
Okay, see, I thought it used to.
I thought it used to
right
as well.
after you're done.
Yes, you
and
would see it.
I swear it did, because I would a lot of times I would stop to see how far it had done, and then I'd go back into it and be like, okay, that wasn't far enough.
Yes,
I need to,
exactly. And it doesn't appear to do that in the HD one, because I sat there and I just did the jab. Like I was like, I'm gonna get this. Like I'm gonna go down the list and just master. So I jabbed all day, and I'm like, what the heck?
There's actually a lot of cool punches that I never.
Yeah,
used
I know. I was
many.
really looking at them. I was like, oh. But I woke up the next morning and my punch is almost mastered now because I was like, oh, okay. But
I think there might actually be a bug though, because I was playing and I was doing Brutal Tiger over and over and over again. And
good, you know.
Yeah. And then I quit, and I did see that it had, like I went and looked at it and I didn't see, you know, the amount that it had increased, but I had seen that it changed animation and he was now doing it the right way.
Oh, right, exactly.
Like dipping his upper body down and
exactly.
doing it.
He does get lower.
Right, which is the right way to do it.
Right, right.
But yeah, I saw that, and then I went back later though, and it was back to doing it the shitty way where he's like still standing up.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's...
That is weird. Yeah, and the thing is, I found out how to feed the cat. I was standing in front of the cat, going into my inventory, because I thought, again, I'm thinking back to Dreamcast. When I look at milk or whatever, when I think it would prompt me for A. I see no prompt.
Oh,
but if I press X,
yeah.
it'll feed the cat. I was like, oh, I feel stupid now. But I love that practicing feature. It speaks to my obsessive compulsive nature to keep doing that. But that's actually interesting to talk about. Obviously this game is heavily martial arts, and when we were kids, this game caused us, and I've said it many times in different videos, but it caused us to get into martial arts for real. And that was an incredible, I think, important part of our life, that a video game caused us to do that. And can you remember, we were trying to, I think both of our parents, just like back then, asking our parents for money of any kind was like a, you know, a buzzing thing. But we were able to convince them,
well,
and
I actually remember calling around to different places because we had to find one that was cheap enough that our parents would pay for it. But like I remember calling like different Taekwondo schools, and finally we found Dan.
We did, which we lucked out with a great teacher who was cheap. It was so cheap, in fact, that I think ultimately led to him not being able to stay in business, particularly when we got a little older and left. But we found a great Taekwondo school that didn't just focus on that. They taught other things like such as boxing, ground fighting, jiu-jitsu, hapkido. It was very cool because Taekwondo is great and all, but it's not, if that's your only martial art, it's not very practical. Those kicks probably aren't ever going to be used that much in a real world scenario. So, but that's, you know, incredible. And I haven't done martial arts in probably, I stopped doing it like 12 years maybe.
Have you ever tried to, like, when no one's around, you see if you can throw one kick just to see if you can still do it?
I haven't. Like I said,
pulling your groin or something.
It has been about 12 years since I can last say that I stopped. And what I'm hoping to happen, to be honest with you,
could you still do a tornado kick right now?
I think I could. We're
going to have to do like a B-roll section where it's like, you tornado kick me out.
Well, good. Let's get sweaty. But, no, you know, because my 20s and when I left that have been a fluctuating thing of like weight fluctuation and being how you've kept it together for the most part, but I kind of, you know, in those last years especially, have had the bad trifecta of just too much work, not enough sleep, and laziness. And so I've been, you know, making strides to exercise more. And what I'm hoping is that through playing this HD remake, it's not a remake, remaster, excuse me. I'm hoping it'll invoke that same thing it did in a child and make me want to do martial arts again somehow in some capacity, even if it's me going up in the Hollywood Hills by myself and saying, let's get sweaty under my breath. And
that's an interesting point because it does, I feel like it does weirdly instill a sense of discipline, that game, just because you have this routine of like, Rio gets up at 8:30 every day, like no matter what, this dude's getting up to go investigate his dad's murder. So it kind of makes you like, you know, and the animation, he looks kind of tired every time, but then he's just like,
you know what? He looks tired.
Go do it.
That animation is if you stay up too late.
Really? I did not know that.
If you give him a good night's sleep, which is hard to do, he won't do that.
Dude, you can't. But come on.
And here's something funny I'm going to tell you. For real, like, we'll get to that later when we talk about what kind of jobs we did. But sometimes for those jobs we had to wake up early, I legitimately, when I do that, I would do it. I'd sit up and I'd
remember you telling me that. You also told me that if you do it,
my head,
you'd feel less tired.
Oh yeah.
You'd somehow then.
Yeah, you shake your head a few times and then stand up all
around.
Do you
also drink cans of Coke and like two.
I should try that. But I think, you know, I hope it, like I said, reinstills that in me, but I hope it also instills that in somebody else out there, because I think, you know, if I ever have children and boys, I think martial arts is a great thing for young boys and young men to just develop not only your body, but your mind and discipline and just self-esteem. I mean, we probably would have got killed, but we thought we were on top of the world sometimes, man, after we think, you know, but I mean, we took it seriously. It was on our mind, and I loved it. And, you know, I have a little bit of regret that I got away there, but
just don't let your kids take it too far and start, you know, going on Ren Rio adventures. That's the only thing you want to watch out for.
We won't tell you any stories here, but we had some dumb things in our life that we literally said to each other, "What would Ren and Rio do?" And then we would do something.
Which is probably not the thing that like a normal person wants to do.
Right. And so we got into some shenanigans that, like, thankfully nothing ever bad happened. But looking back years later on some of the stuff we did, we were like, God, how stupid were we, man? Anyway.
Moving along.
I'm excited about the ability to have different voice tracks in the game. You can play Shenmue 1 now with Japanese. Now, as I'm saying, I'm excited at that. My current playthrough, I'm still playing in English just because it's the nostalgia with it, and the voices are a special kind of funny. I mean, we were talking about this, that they were funny back in the day, but also
it's a little worse seeing it now, isn't it?
It's a little funnier now, but like I accept it. But the thing you have to remember is, like, even in the time when we knew it was a little funny, it still was also awesome, because there were very few games that had full-on voice acting all the time.
Right.
And that was what was absolutely crazy. Now, another thing that I can't believe this game does is, you talk about discipline. You have to get a job in Shenmue, and you go. And somehow the game remains to keep it fun. Like, I loved going to work.
Yeah.
And,
well, part of it, I think, was that there's always, throughout the entire forklift thing, there's always that suspense every day that you might get stopped by some sailors or something, some fight might break out. So it's like there's never, it's never just a routine.
Yeah, and it almost feels like you're there undercover anyway, because during your lunch breaks, you're going to
you're doing
breaking into warehouses, warehouse number 8, and all that. What's funny is, both of us did forklift jobs, didn't we? In real life, and in the beginning it was fun, it was cool, it's like, oh, this is like Shenmue, but
sadly there was no racing though.
Yeah, there was no racing. And you know what, there's no quota in real life. There's no 50 yen raise if you hit your quota.
There's a quota, it's just, but you
don't get a raise. If only. Was it 50 or 100? I think you get a 50 yen raise in my mind. That's what I hear. So I just have, so far I have only had a limited time this week to play at the recording of this video. I've just found Charlie, for those who know the game. So I am looking forward to going through this, and especially Shenmue 2.
You know what, I actually thought, I was thinking I was getting to where Chai was at the U Arcade. That's not what happens.
Because I am supposed to meet him at U Arcade.
You think you're supposed to meet him there, and that something else happens. you'll remember when it happens. But yeah, it's like,
Yeah. That's the other thing.
well,
it's like
it's not super fresh in my mind.
obviously we have less time these days to play games, and I'm still like the game is slower paced, and I'm trying to tell myself to slow down when in many areas I know where things are.
Right.
But I'm still trying to do that wonder. The game definitely rewards exploration. For example, you can find, if you just take time going through your house, you'll find hidden scrolls, which are different moves. You can find one in Fukusan's room there. I'll let you know one. And there's another one, but I'm not going to tell you where it is. You gotta look. I just heard this for the first time today. I went in the kitchen to talk to Ine-san, and she was like, Rio, your karate teacher wants you to stop by. And I was like, what? I was like, wouldn't that be my dad?
Yeah, that's not cool, Ine-san.
Yeah. And she's like, your teachers are missing you or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, where is Rio's karate teacher?
I had a weird thing that I'd never seen before when I was trying to find Chinese people. Well, it's a thing in the game. You have to find Chinese people. But when I was trying to find Chinese people, there was, the normal route is to go to the Ajiichi restaurant. That's what everybody points you to. But there's somebody else, I can't remember who it is, but they tell you to find these other two guys who are normally hanging out in bars.
Yes. I found them.
I didn't remember that, and I walked around to all the bars.
They are in Bar Yokosuka.
I walked in there. Are they those two guys talking to the girl?
They're sitting talking to Akemi.
They would not talk to me.
Oh.
They would not talk to me. She hit on me, and then they wouldn't talk to me. And I was like, I'm pretty sure these...
You keep saying she hits on you, because you said this to me.
The way she calls out to you.
Hi, Rio.
Akemi-san.
You're still a minor.
But then she also says, you're still a minor. And she's like, Ine-san's worried.
She's taunting you. That's like a weird...
wants it.
Don't include this in the video.
So apparently, I don't know where I read this. It was in a manual or something. Apparently, Fukusan likes her.
I read that too. And
I don't remember where I read that. And
I've never had any sort of indication of that.
Maybe we read the same article or something, but it was like, because of the death of, Iwao, he doesn't go to the drink as much or whatever, and it's like, how would you ever know that?
We read the same thing.
The only thing I think is like, when you ask him about Charlie, he's like, Akemi might know. You want me to go ask her? It's like, settle down there. Yeah. But
why is Fukusan's older than you?
Is it? He must be, yeah, of course.
He is, because he said,
he
says at one point that Hazuki Sensei took care of me since I was 15. That was 10 years ago or like something, or he says that's been 10 years. So he's like 25. Why is he so bad at martial arts? What? Can you shed any light on that? I mean, he's been doing it for 10 years.
He hurts his rib from doing the two punch. Yeah, that is, that's a good question.
I mean, Rio's like 18, right?
Yeah, 18. That is something too I was going to say, is that when we were kids playing this game in 2000, I thought Rio looked so much older.
He does look
now
younger
that I'm playing at this
Weirdly.
kid, yeah, I'm like, he does look like a boy when people are calling him a boy.
This makes no sense. Like,
no, not at all.
Why should he look any? The graphics are the same.
I know, but I guess we were younger, so that looked like a mature man. I mean, he is buff, you know, like. But now that I look at him, I'm like, he does look kind of like a boy, like when people are younger.
Right. Yeah,
it's cool. But I love that he is a man on a mission and revenge, and like, as we move forward with Shenmue 3. I just want it to be that through and through, kill Lan-Di, but we've talked about this many times. I feel like what it's ultimately going to be is like, we've said this many times. When Lan-Di is confronting Iwao, he's like, do you remember that, I'm going to butcher the name, that's the name of the man you killed in Woonsoon or whatever. It's probably, Chao Sun-ming. It's probably the same thing that Rio's father possibly killed Lan-Di's father. And you might actually be the exact same person as Lan-Di, and when it comes down to it, it might be about not getting revenge. And if
or it may give you the choice: do you keep the cycle of revenge going, or do you break it?
That's true. But me, I want to do it.
Have you learned anything throughout the trip? Because that's the thing. Yeah. It's like all the like, especially I forget her name, but
Shenhua.
Shenhua,
Yeah.
But she's like always trying to tell you not to, not go after revenge.
Right. And that's the thing, like, you can go in this path, but with any adventure, you're constantly getting sidetracked, meeting new people new friends, people that care about you. And it's like, how long can you stay on that straight, narrow path without doing anything? I don't know, but who knows though? Because
Well, here's one thing that I did want to say though about Ryo's determination is that I only noticed this because of you, but you pointed out that he was rude to Ine-san when when she gives the allowance the first time. And she gives it to him
the very first time,
and then he just completely ignores it and is like, "Where's Fuku-san?"
Yep. Yeah.
He just and the funniest thing is that when I watched it, there's this slight pause on Ine-san before she responds, where you're like, you can see the pain in her little digital eyes, like she's hurt. And so now I've been playing through like waiting for moments of Ryo being rude, and there's other times like when you're talking to Ryu-san about the three blades, he starts telling you this like amazing story about how all the three blades were also like guardians of the Emperor, and then like he sort of finishes the story, and Ryo just goes about Landi. It's like, dude, this guy is telling you this incredible piece of history, and you're just like, yeah, okay, old man, like, can we get back to what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, he is a rigid individual. And it's funny that he doesn't thank Ine-san for that first allowance, because every day he grabs, he's like, I should be grateful.
but he's like, not. That's what he's saying. I should be.
But he's not. So I want to jump to something that has plagued my mind for a long time, and this is like a little bit of a spoiler, but not much. Later in the game, your love interest of sorts, Nozomi, will meet you at work at the pier, and there's a photographer there, and you'll take two photos. The first one, you two are a little further away. The second one, you two are together. And then it gives you the option of which one do you take. This has plagued my mind for the longest time because she's going to be moving away. Now, I've always thought, you know what, let me take the picture of us apart so she can keep the picture of us together. However, does that convey the message to Nozomi that I'm not interested? But if I take that picture of us together, then she gets the one of us apart and me looking aloof. It's the most... So, which one do you usually pick? I usually pick the one where we're separated so that in my mind of the continuing story, she can have the one where we're together.
I usually pick the one where we're together because I'm going off on this crazy adventure, fighting like giant fat guys on top of buildings and like 70 dudes in a warehouse. Like, I need to have those moments where I'm like beaten in an alley and I can pull out the photo and be like
John Wick,
like to just keep me going. She doesn't need that. She's gonna be in Canada.
That's true.
She'll be fine. But there is that flip side where it's like, is she now looking at this picture always being like, he didn't really care about me, right? And then she marries some other dude. Yeah,
the thing about that is, I unfortunately think, as much as my little romantic heart wants, like, I wanted that to be some through point in the overarching story, and I think it's just one of those.
But what if it was? What if it was like you came back later and she was like, well, I just thought you didn't.
That's true. No, but I just like the way the story's going with taking you so far from home and into China. Yeah,
that's why
you probably will never see Nozomi again. And it's that like childhood love or the one that got away kind of thing, which hurts me, but it's probably what it's going to be. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they really make you think Shenhua and Ryo are going to hang up, but I don't ever think that's actually going to happen. I think that's just,
So does Ryo end up with anybody?
I don't know. That's the thing. We always joke that like women will like confess their love for him during the series, and he's just like, I like martial arts.
Well, it's true. The one scene, he's like, they're sitting in the park. She lays her head on his shoulder, and he just stays bolt upright, staring dead ahead.
Yeah, it's funny in this. I don't know if it was in Dreamcast, but in this, PS4 version, he's been talking to some people. I don't know if it's the camera angle or what, but there's been a few times where it looks like he's looking at their chests. It's just making me laugh, especially if it's a female.
I do love though how how faithful the game is though, and like this recreation re-release, but to the point where, have you noticed that it like slightly slows down sometimes when you're running through the city? And I'm so happy about it.
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up because I am too, and like I think that's one of my bullet points, man. I want that. I'm so happy you brought that up. When that happened, I was like, my wife Kelly's like in the kitchen or something, and she doesn't care about my nerd ramblings. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like it actually slows down like Dreamcast. Like that's awesome.
I don't know why we should be happy about it.
And it's like, and you know what? There's still like slight aliasing in the thing, and I'm like, that's great. Yeah, I'm like, it feels like Dreamcast because it really feels like playing the game with a VGA box, just a little more HDitized, and I love it. So I love that you love the slowdown too, because if someone's on a bicycle or too many people, I see it happen, and I love it. You know, something that's weird with me is I think I finally decided to keep Bloom on. It's this setting, but I kept flipping it on and off. I couldn't decide. It's like sometimes during the day I don't like it on, but I must have it on at night. So I don't know. I think I'm just committing to have it on all the time and just living with that. But I don't know. I think my TV's too dark or something. I've had to bump up that contrast, and because when I capture it through my capture card, it's getting a direct video feed. It doesn't look like that. So I think I have my colors just too dark on my TV. So we've talked about some of the funny voices before too, but there's this one guy that says a goofy variation of the F word, and I swear he says futtin, Futtin. He's like, "Are you futtin with me?" Now, if you put on the subtitles, it says, "Are you frontin' with me?"
I was just gonna say, I was gonna say I have some bad news.
No. I did that. I do not believe it. That is BS. He is saying futtin.
See, now that I've seen frontin', I can kind of, I can hear it.
Are you frontin' with me? No, dude. No, dude. It's futtin. It forever will be futtin' with me. I'm gonna play the clip. You all decide.
I mean,
who the hell do you think you're talking to? You frontin' with me?
The point is, that's what they wanted to say, even if it's frontin'.
Exactly.
Nobody says that.
Exactly. You frontin' with me. Yeah. I guess and then how about that time with Goro?
Stop it! And just who are you? Don't you know that blackmail is way uncool? Thinks you stop it?
At the pier.
The weirdest line in Shenmue, in all of Shenmue.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. It was, so, would you demo the line for us?
Didn't you know that blackmail is way uncool?
So, hopefully I can play the clip here, but for the longest time, I thought that was Goro. And I remember I was over at your house, and you were like, "No, dude, I think it's Ryo."
It's
and
Ryo.
It totally is. Goro, it totally is.
Really, because it's weird. He starts off with his same, like, "Didn't you know?"
Yeah.
Like his, but then he like goes into a weird Goro voice and does that way uncool thing, which is just very out of character for Ryo.
Should have got more tea. You want to get more tea? Just be a nice little. Oh yeah.
See, because it's a good point that the first one, despite being in Japan and in a neighborhood that you've never been, does somehow feel like home. Whereas the next one doesn't. How do you think that it, like...
You know, that's a good point. I think it's a mixture of things. I think it's number one, almost everyone you initiate a conversation with responds with your name. So it's like you feel like you've grown up in this place. I also think a lot of it, and this is going to sound weird on like a subconscious level, but like involves with the soundtrack. And what I mean by that is like when you walk out of your residence, I have always loved how like you hear these dogs barking and there's these like synth keyboard like noises, not like overt music. And I always wished I was like older in some regard, born earlier, because I had a pipe dream of wanting to make music for games. And I thought during that era of like late 90s and Dreamcast would have been the great time to be a video game composer, because you could get away with doing a lot of keyboard-esque type music. And I just think, I don't know, everyone knows your name. It's very contained too. I think
size is part of it, because it's like size and then also just the general like mood of it, because it feels very like calm, quiet, safe, even though there's this like criminal element lurking underneath. It feels like a safe place, whereas And well, it's interesting too because growing up, we both actually, after having played Shenmue, we both went to one of those places each. I went to China, and Janie went to Japan.
That's true.
And I always remember telling you when I came back how much 2 nailed the feel of China, like down to the colors of the cities, the signage, the people, like the like crowded nature of it. It's just, it felt like China.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That's something to be said. And plenty of people have made videos or gone to Yokosuka and Dobuita and taken pictures. Some of those sections they created actually exist. There's like the military surplus store is a shop that's there for real. Those stairs you go up past the arcade, those are there. Like, the attention to detail is incredible. And I was not anywhere in near Yokosuka, but I will say, like, those kind of streets, like, that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
you know?
and the same with me. I mean, I did go to Hong Kong, but, lots changed, obviously, since the 80s in Hong Kong, but it still somehow, like, it actually felt like other areas of China more, where it was, like, still more mainland, still more, because Hong Kong now is just, like, modernized. And,
for sure.
Like you said, a lot of the voice acting is a little funny. My girlfriend just makes fun of it. That's because she doesn't, and so it's funny because you said that you try to, Kelly doesn't care about your nerd rants, but you still try.
Yeah.
You still try to be like, no, you don't understand this game. So
you guys have seen me talk about it, like when Shenmue 3 was announced, when I freak out, like, and I'm very adamant at reminding people this, or because over time it became kind of easy to make fun of things like the voice acting or looking for sailors. When in reality, this game did something that nothing ever did in the full scale. You can walk around your house and pick up anything for no reason, but that level of interaction is incredible. And I'll tell you, I've made really cheesy, rudimentary video games before, and even programming that takes time and effort to be able to do that. But we've never seen anything for that. I remember the first time I played, I spent the whole day in the house just opening drawers, which will find you some fun stuff. And this was before Grand Theft Auto 3. Everybody always attributes open world to Grand Theft Auto 3. Well, I'm sorry, Shenmue did it a year before. And, love it or hate it, QTE was basically popularized by Shenmue. I mean, you could argue it existed in things like Dragon's Lair and all that, but how we know it as today, that is Shenmue, love it or hate it. I personally always loved QTE.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, it maybe has grown a little stale.
Yeah.
But I think when it's done well, it still works well.
Yeah. I don't want to jinx myself, I haven't failed anything so far. And I feel like it's really easy.
It's pretty easy. I messed up one when you first run into those 2 dudes, but I'm like, so I had to stop, and the one dude jacked me in the face. I was so mad.
I would have reloaded, dude. I would have reloaded.
I was so mad.
But
I still beat him up afterwards. Yeah. It's like, whatever.
I would have loaded.
Damn it.
I hate that noise.
And it was the smaller guy, too, not the guy with the big leaf. I'm like, that little
worm.
Bitch.
Yeah. I did not, I won, but I was really rusty at my first free battle with them, with Nozomi and the kid.
Yeah,
I was
like, the free battle is rough. Because what's crazy is also, Shenmue doesn't hold your hand with anything, really. Even what you said in terms of finding places, like, it doesn't, and it also, the fights, there's no, like, most games now will have that, like, little intro thing. Like, most games now would have had you spar Fukusan in a free battle first.
Yep.
So that you can figure out the moves. Shenmue doesn't do that. Shenmue's like, no, your first free battle is a real fight.
Yep. Which was actually great.
Right.
And it's funny, I expected, especially with this re-release, me to get into that battle and a full screen thing to come up like, free battle. This is what you do.
No,
like
it just
and
starts.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I was a little rusty.
How do you even know the controls at that point?
You do not.
Really,
you just have to figure it out.
You wouldn't know the controls or any of the moves unless you've sat there and looked through your...
It's funny how a lot of it came back, though, because the first time I got to practice, you see moves you haven't learned yet, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
Man, stirred, and I was like,
it's an interesting mix of, like, fight game plus almost somewhat reminiscent of, like, the Batman... the Arkham games, just in that you can just kind of hit this counter button whenever you know.
Yeah. You can still get hit, though.
You can.
It's not as, yeah.
No, you can.
For sure. That, you know what? I hope they keep the, after you beat the game, being able to just do the 70-person battle like you could in the Dreamcast version. And you know what? That was something I brought up to you over GChat this week, is that in the original Dreamcast version, you could choose Shenmue weather or actual historically accurate weather from weather records from 1986, which I've never played, and you have. But I didn't see any option for it. It was just
gone. I looked again. It's gone.
Yeah, it kind of makes me sad because I never did it because I like how it snows around Christmas time and whatnot. But like I could have wanted to do that, so I guess I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to plug in the old Dreamcast. But I like the loading times are slower too. It's funny when the first time I saw that screen, my brain like triggered. I could hear it.
Do you think today's people, though, like today's generation of gamers, can even find this to be interesting, or because it's not a game that holds your hand. It's not a game that tells you anywhere to go. It's not a game that's. I mean, it's not very difficult, but it's also the pacing. Like we talked about, we had to have like a moment of readjusting to it. And remembering, okay, this is... Because my first thing I told you, I started up... I got caught up in, like, looking through drawers in my house. And then it was like, oh, it's noon. And I haven't even gone out. What if the old lady's gone? Because there's that stress when you know that there is stuff you can miss.
That's true.
And you'll just miss it, and you'll never know it existed. And it's like... It's not anything... huge, but it's like nice little story moments that add to the characters and build relationships.
I'm glad you said that because any new players that play this game, make sure you turn off this fast travel thing they added to the game when you go to your door and it can just shoot you into the city. Turn that off because that's, number one, not how that game is meant to be played. You need to walk through... These places aren't that large anyway, so you need to really immerse yourself by running back to your house at night and back down. But if you fast travel around, you are gonna miss stuff because, like he's saying, there are these side little cutscenes that can happen. If you miss them, or if you don't go down that way that day, you will miss it. It just will not happen.
Right, and two is actually where they initially introduced the jump. Like 2 always had that, but it kind of made more sense then because it was big, right? Didn't it have a warp feature when you would leave like the come over guest house? It would ask you like, do you want to go to like?
I honestly cannot remember because I played Shenmue 1 like 4 or 5 times. I only played Shenmue 2 once because it was a pain because I had to use a Game Shark to play the UK version. But I like to have my Dreamcast on a VGA box, but I could never load the Game Shark through the VGA box, so I never played it. And by the time I got an Xbox, and there was all too many games out. So I'm excited to get through Shenmue 1 for the 5th or 6th time, whatever this is, and experience Shenmue 2. So getting back to what you had brought up about are younger gamers or the younger generation going to respond well to this and its slower pace? In my gut, man, I feel like they're not going to respond well to it. However, I feel like if enough of us make these videos, us old timers, talking about it and say, slow down, take a minute, allow yourself to get engrossed in the story and in the zone, maybe 1 out of 10 may listen to us harping and then they'll get it. And you know what? That'll be great because, Shenmue obviously has a big following for a reason. You know what I mean? And that was something, I always thought it was our little secret until through the internet and Shenmue 3, suddenly everyone's a Shenmue fan. But also I think there's a lot of fakers out there for the YouTube views that, when Shenmue happens, they're like, oh, suddenly I'm a Shenmue fan. I'm going to make Shenmue videos. But I'm happy to see that people loved it and didn't forget it. You know what I mean? Shenmue Dojo, that was a great website keeping it going.
I think for me, it was like, because, the primary reason we watch or read or whatever is so that you can experience something that you normally can't. And for me, it was like traveling, seeing other countries was always a huge thing. So what was awesome about Shenmue was that it was a way to go to Japan, China, and it's so detailed that it feels like you've gone there to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And so I would say, if you can, adjust to the slower style of gameplay, it still is successful in doing that, but at the same time, I worry that it's like going back to watch like Halloween or something, where it's like, okay, all of the tropes that Halloween started don't seem so special to a modern audience because they've seen those tropes now repeated so many times that it's not anything new. And that sort of is my concern maybe with Shenmue, is that it's like everything it did at the time was new, and it still does it really well, but there's been other stuff that also does that have taken from this, and not in a bad way, you know, built upon it, but
I see what you mean.
Maybe it loses its impact somewhat.
Maybe, but I'll jump in and say, because I think there's nothing else like it, it's done it in that way. I can't think of another game that has done it in this style. I think it would still live through.
Yeah, because I think
I'm trying to think of a game like this. People always like reference Yakuza games, which I never played. So I don't know, but I know.
I think what this does so well is it marries the open world with still telling a tight story. Because a problem I always have with a lot of modern open world stuff, like Grand Theft Auto. What's another one that I always have? Oh, the Assassin's Creed games. It always seems like, okay, yes, there's this world. It's relatively alive. For some reason, it doesn't feel as real as Shenmue. It still feels like video gamey and like, you know, because there's like those. I don't know why. It's just something about it.
I think again, it's the level of detail that Yu Suzuki puts in his projects. For example, if you walk in the sushi shop, you will see a sushi chef grab rice. I literally did this today. He will grab rice, walk over, he'll grab the knife, he'll start cutting. He does all that. That's something you may never even. You don't have to ever go in the sushi shop.
Right.
But like that's there. And Yu Suzuki for I've told this story for Virtua Fighter, or let it be Outrun. He, no matter what the game is, he spends, I can't think of any other story where game creators do this, but he does an immense amount of research before he does it. And it's just a video game, some people might say, but for early in Virtua Fighter, he toured through China studying different Chinese martial arts and doing that. And that was part of his development for Virtua Fighter was Shenmue was in his mind.
Right, yeah.
For Outrun, the game is based on European architecture that you're driving through, so he toured Europe. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You could have just opened a photo book, but it's like, he sees value in those real-life experiences.
But it helps, and it's like, it's sort of like Michael Mann, where I feel like Michael Mann always captures the feeling of a city very well, whatever city he chooses to make a movie in. And it's the same, like Yu Suzuki can nail the feeling of a city.
Yeah,
somehow.
absolutely. Now let me ask you this, because you are someone who I think doesn't like the, how should I say, the supernatural, if I would. Shenmue 1...
That's not true.
Well, I only bring this up because I think of Beyond Two Souls.
I like supernatural stuff that's done well.
Okay. Beyond Two Souls is a great game.
Okay,
well then I might be surprised, because my question was going to be, is that Shenmue 1 is seemingly based in reality, and most of Shenmue 2 is, and then all of a sudden, I'm not going to spoil it, the end of Shenmue 2, it was a big 180 on a dime, like, what? And then, of course, the game ended 14 years, well, it's more than 14 now, 15 years ago or whatever, and we were all just like, what? And I feel like the story may get a little mythical and fantastical, and is that going to bother you?
No, because I feel like those hints were always there, and they've been building it within the world in a way that makes sense. The reason I didn't like Beyond Two Souls is because I don't think it's a very good gameplay mechanic, and of like floating around in this weird disembodied, like it just wasn't that interesting. Or
as you know, I'm a huge Quantic Dream fan, and we don't agree on that one.
But I love the game. Here's something else though. As much as I love Heavy Rain, and Detroit looks cool, and I want to play Detroit,
I still haven't done it.
I have to say, those games do not do QTE as well as Shenmue. Okay. And the fact that it might be the fact that Shenmue breaks it up more with other stuff, but like I started playing Beyond Two Souls again, and I was just like, it's kind of boring at times, where it's like I'm not getting to do enough. Like
that's fair.
He's really on that line of like, I'm almost watching a movie here, but I get to press buttons once in a while.
It is. They are interactive films, and I've always liked that. But I hear what you're saying. You are more
that's
involved
the thing. It's
in
like
Shenmue.
I feel like to this day, all of the different things that Shenmue does, nothing does it as well. Even
I agree.
I would say maybe, Red Dead Redemption comes closer to feeling like a real world, but it still has that kind of goofy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure. For sure. But I know what you mean. Like, I was able. That game blew both of our minds when it came out. I remember, how you'll get the bad guy trying to kill the hooker or whatever.
Right.
I roped that guy up. I took him to the train tracks, laid him down, and I sat there on my horse and I waited. And I pictured how the hot coals against his face, and I just waited for that train to hit.
Yeah, but that game doesn't have I think, and that's a thing where it's they just don't have that level of attention to detail. Maybe because their map size is so huge that it's you can't feasibly do that.
Right.
But it's Shenmue. Everybody has a routine, a real routine that they go about.
That's the thing. So many games, right, have all these huge worlds. Well, they've built programs to randomize these things.
Right.
Whereas Shenmue, I can guarantee, was handcrafted.
Exactly.
To the bottom
there's
up.
sometimes maybe a drunk guy stumbling out of the bar, the saloon in Red Dead Redemption. But it's that guy, you can't follow that drunk dude and watch him go home and sober up and have a hangover and then go back to the bar later and get drunk again. Right. Which in Shenmue would totally happen.
Yeah. And Shenmue the NPCs have lives.
Right.
They do go about their days. I've seen characters be at their job, they get off, they will go eat at the sushi restaurant. They will literally, when time is up for their shop to close, they'll turn around and pull that grating down for their shop and go home and whatever. So one thing I was wondering
they also sometimes won't have time to talk to you if they're
That's
busy.
true.
They'll tell you that.
That's true. They'll talk to you earlier, but I tried to talk to some guy that was going on. He just closed his shop and he was like, "I'm tired" or "I'm busy," and it's crazy. I just went back to Heartbeats because he tells you not to come back, and you can keep being like,
Oh, that was another thing I was going to say with his rudeness, where he's just this guy clearly wants you out, you busted up his place, and you can keep going,
Didn't I tell you not to come back here? Ain't got time for punk kids. Get out of here. Don't make me tell you again. Get out of here. Get out of here, punk. You just don't get it, do you? Enough already.
Finally,
get out!
That's great. So I think we've said enough on this topic here. Obviously, we both recommend picking this up if you've never played it, or if you have played it, pick it up anyway. This is fantastic. I'm probably, when it goes on sale on Steam, going to get a Steam copy too, because I'm crazy and just want it all.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been so happy. We talked about Detroit. I wanted to play that real bad. I don't care. This is all I'm playing right now until both of these are done. Yeah. And it's so much fun, man. And I look forward to 3. And I love that Sega did this. Thank you to Sega for bringing this out, giving people what they want. And I love that it's a year in advance to get people up to speed on Shenmue 3.
But yeah, Yu Suzuki, finish the story. Don't do this to us again, because I'm a little concerned after you said there's he still wants to do 7 games.
Well, I read that he originally wanted to do 7, but said he could probably do it in 4 or 5.
Probably do 3. Probably do it in 3, because
Yes.
This one we almost didn't get.
Exactly. It took 14 years. And I don't want to, heaven forbid, but it's I'm like, dude, you're kind of up there, man. Don't pull a, Tolkien had other books, you know what I mean? And his son had to finish. Just please finish the story in 3. Or at least, everybody buy 3 and then yes, for sure we're getting it right away. Don't make us wait. I don't want to be, I'm 30 now. I don't want to wait till I'm 45 for Shenmue 4. So anyways, thank you guys for spending time. If you're here with us all the way at the end, I appreciate it. And please let me know in the comments. I want to know out there, what picture do you choose with Nozomi? Far away or together? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future. And I'll see you next time. Oh, one more thing too. If you liked Keith here on the show, let us know in the comments if you liked him here, because I need to bring him.
to get YouTube flamed.
Let us know so we can bring him back for some more episodes. All right, I'll see you next time.